Video game art GA4001 calls Potion Bottle. I am Nathaniel Lazowski, student ID 424100600. I am a character illustrator and I have some experience in Blender 3D modeling low assets. To begin, first I started writing up a little plan. It includes a few little simple jots down, mainly of the brief, what I need to do, and some additional constraint. For example, you could have made a potion which you can throw or you can drink, you know, those kind of stuff. Just to show that I did really plan through this. Now, as for what kind of potion did I choose, I chose a strength potion. Looking on the left, it is going to be a strength potion which is going to be sold in a commercially made bottle in a commercial shop. It's not going to be very ornate and it will have a price tag as a special little attachment, you could say. Looking on the right, drinkable, and it will grant strength. Research side of things, I created a mood board, fixed ideas such as glass bowls, labels, wood, whatever. It also includes some more abstract ideas and features such as some rock sediments, beast horns, beast teeth, bodybuilder, whatever. Abstract ideas which I can use in my concept art, hopefully. Now this is the concept art. There's more concept art. It's drawn traditionally because I didn't have my digital tablet or my software. These are some of the best ideas, I'd say. I like some of these more than others. This one is quite nice. Horns. Simple ideas. This one made by like a Buron kind of bottle, as it is not ornate. It's not really jewels. I didn't really fancy the idea of putting like gemstones, diamonds on a bottle which you're supposed to throw away or return back to a potion seller for a small sum, let's say. Thinking about this more realistically. This is my final concept which I had chosen. It's based off the bodybuilder, a little drawn up design, little silhouette. That silhouette was used to create the silhouette of the bottle, to create this strong shape, this strong silhouette shape, which I really fancied. As a base, as a little stand for it to hold up, and it has also a label. The cork is normal standard issue. It was then traced from that photo into a digital software. I use Paint Tool Sci, similar to Photoshop, which you may know. The potion is going to be yellow in color, simple cork. As a label, the label has a little wax thing on it, it has some writing on it. It's initially going to be fizzy, kind of, so some bubbles are going to be coming out. The stand is made out of a simple wood block which is perhaps carved out, so yeah, it's relatively simple. The liquid, the glass is supposed to be relatively thick, so there's some thicker areas which you can see in the mood board. Its metal stand is not very polished, not very clean, it's just rough hammered metal. That's basically the idea which I was going for. On the left you can see a little GIF slideshow process of the modeling. I first started off with a revolve tool meaning you create a little curve, and from that curve it creates a circular shape spindle. So yeah, that's the initial shape. It was relatively unoptimized, so I removed some of the edges after I included the other parts such as the stand and base and the cork. Then I created the wax. The wax I used a bit more topology on to create that liquid melted kind of feeling, since I could, because I had quite a lot of budget left. This whole model is only 3,764 triangles out of 5,000 included in the brief. It is very optimized. I could have perhaps used more triangles, but well, that's for next time. Here's a little wireframe right next to the normal base hole view. As for the cleanup, mainly I focused on the poles. Every single pole I converted into a single vertex by merging them to a point, to a center. This was demonstrated in a feedback session. It saved up quite a lot of triangles. Perhaps that's why the triangle count is so low. The outliner was also optimized and organized by name and type and quality. and after it was all merged into opaque and not opaque parts, it helps in Unreal Engine. Here there's the whole UV map and the model side by side. It's all placed on a single map, as said on the brief. Some of the cuts which I created, relatively simple, just down the center and then around points where it deforms the most. You can see how much it is deforming in the checkerboard view. It will show how deformed and how well your textile density fits to actual mesh. Ideally, you would want all the checkers to be the same size across the whole model so that there is no deformation in some areas as opposed to others. UV map optimization. I optimized the UV map by stacking the entire half of the model on top of each other. Now you have to stack the UV islands perfectly so that it does not create any weird illusions with the texture. This allows you to scale up each of the UV islands by twice as much, using up as much of the pixel space which you have on the texture map as possible. It's very powerful, I'd say. Now, some of the parts were scaled down, such as these on the right. The highlighted ones are parts which are behind or hidden or under. Those were scaled down to save up even further more space. Sure, the textile density is not then the same, however, well, no one is going to realize, so yeah, might as well. Free space in the end of the day. Then, after all of it was exported into Substance Painter, first I blocked out all the materials, made sure to name all the folders appropriately, following the drawn concept which I have. After feedback, corrected, and was then further improved after. If I were to take away one thing from the feedback sessions, it would be to make the textures a lot more subtle. Variation in the base color, roughness in the height maps, so that it looks more realistic. Even that little slight variation in the roughness will make it look as if it is real. Here are a few Substance Painter close-ups of some of the parts which changed the most after feedback sessions. Stand, this changed pretty much the most. It changed that soft putty look into something which looks more like cast iron, some hammered metal, even some color difference as you can see in the blackness. Then the glass, there's more density, there's a lot more of that kind of dirty washed finish. The glass is a lot more thick and dense. Wood base, it got fixed up, and a lot of these soft little holes. Later on, these small, very subtle notches and some dark little rim, it got more of those wrinkles, and the shadow behind the wax also got fixed up. The wax material also changed up quite a lot. And lastly, the cork, the holes got reduced in size because it was too in your face, it was too extreme, it was not subtle enough. That's why it got changed. Now to focus on the Substance Painter outliner. All of these were placed in separate folders which masked out the mesh. They have a simple base for each one of the materials, fill layers, black masks. Mainly I used 3D Voronoi, 3D Perlin noise, and a handful of substances, filters such as blur and warp to create the textures. I occasionally grouped some of the fill layers so that I can add more filters on top of them. As for some alternative way of creating textures, I went into Inkscape, which is a SVG vector creating thing, to create a few vector and alpha maps for some stickers to be used as textures in Substance Painter, back in Substance Painter. So the arm, the writing, the head, they were initially drawn out again in Paint Tool SI and then just traced over in Inkscape to create vectors, scaled those vectors up, maybe added some thickness to those vectors such as the writing, made sure that the alpha maps are identical to the actual texture, and then just imported them back into Substance Painter and made sure that they work. Lastly, after the model was completed, I had to export the textures. I exported by going General Export Properties Unreal Engine 4, as this is going to be used in Unreal Engine. Targa format, as said by the brief, 4000 pixels quality. Output template. I changed the name of the output names so that they better fit Unreal Engine without needing to rename them in Engine. I include also a mission map, but I didn't use it. This is the Unreal Engine setup for the level. It's just a few planes per across, and then I imported the mesh. There were a few problems setting up texture, and I had to go back and forth. However, I got it working in the end. First, I began by creating a 3-point light system with a few spotlights, and then included a fill light, a few little accent lines over here, fill light here. Simply just trying to catch some of that detail on the materials while still looking relatively nice. Here is the materials in Unreal Engine. I used Instance for the strength potion so that I am optimized and didn't need to make more materials than are needed, since these materials are basically the same, just small differences in between. There's also a walls texture, but that walls texture, as you can see on the right, very simple. It's just the main outliner, base color and roughness up, because that is not the focus of the screenshot. It is just a potion bottle. And here is the final screenshot over here on the right. I'd say that it looks pretty similar to the potion bottle, all around the material, the writing. I had changed up a few parts, but I think I changed them up for better, such as adding that texture into the wood, or adding that hammered feel into the metal, or those wrinkles inside of the paper. I didn't really include bubbles because I realized that transparent liquid doesn't really feel that good, or rather it's not as saturated, as bright of a color as it is here. So yeah, I sacked that idea. Now for self-reflection. The mesh was modeled with poly count and vision of the reference. As a single UV map with consistent quality and no overlap. I textured and exported 2K texture maps in Targa format, and I imported all of that in Unreal Engine, got it working in the end, and made a screenshot. So I'd say the brief has been followed relatively well. An original design, which I designed from a concept, model, mesh, texture, and the render. However, my Substance Painter and Unreal Engine versions did not match the campus version, which meant a lot of back and forth. I should have spent more research on the liquid texture and how to get that fizzy feel which I was looking for, rather than just cutting it out. I should have went and tried to use the full poly limit at 5000 rather than 3700 triangles, which I did use in the final. The presentation should have been completed whilst I was working, so each time I finished a part I would document it so that it is fresh. I wouldn't have to worry about creating the presentation last minute. I also should have got better Unreal Engine scene setup for the screenshots. Some of the lighting feels a bit off, I'd say, especially like that rectangular light behind. However, overall I'm generally happy. I'm generally happy about the model and the render which I created. I learned quite a lot, especially in Unreal Engine, Substance Painter. I also learned about UV stacking. That's very important to me. I love UV stacking. But yeah, I could still improve quite a lot. Thank you for listening.